everybody, and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I am so excited to share with you guys this analysis because this has been blowing my mind ever since I first saw it a couple years ago. The reason why I believe that this cycle is going to be so powerful is because we have a few key factors fueling more upside potential than any of the prior cycles. I firmly believe that with the approval of the ETF and all of the new institutional money, there's a reason why the charts just like this one today are showing that this cycle coming up is going to be the super cycle. So for today's video, I wanted to break down what the charts are showing us, and then I wanted to explain what I think are going to be the key narratives to follow to make the most profit possible over the course of this bull run. Guys, if at any point you find value in this video, please do me a favor and leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you guys want to see how I'm investing my portfolio long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Now right off the bat, guys, I wanted to start right here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why I really think that this cycle is going to be so much more powerful than any of the prior ones. And it really goes to show that when we're zooming out and looking at the long-term accumulation trend going all the way to the beginning of altcoins, we've been seeing the same similarities in structure, and I wanted to even go over a few altcoins from that prior cycle and the older ones in the previous cycles that are looking like they're following the same accumulation setups as even what the charts are showing us down here. So what I wanted to start with is mainly going back, taking a look at the very first cycle, because what we are seeing right now is almost an identical repeat of that same setup. I just believe it's taking more time to accumulate to move this amount of volume and money to be able to get us into new all-time highs. We're at a much different point in market structure. We're at a much different point in adoption, taking place all the way in the first cycle, comparing it to where we're at right now. And I do think that the only way we're going to see that same type of upside potential is if we get a longer period of accumulation. So when we're coming all the way back and looking at this beginning trend, what we ended up seeing was when Bitcoin peaked in 2013, the altcoins ended up finishing their first cycle. This is really where Dogecoin came onto scene, Litecoin, some of the original altcoins. This is kind of that first little run that they had. And they went through this accumulation that, in my opinion, is very similar to what we're seeing today, where you started this descending resistance in the downtrend. Once we finally broke outside of that, indicated by this move, we kind of went through this sideways accumulation before we made one more breakout. This got us above those all-time highs. We retested those a couple different points, and then that was what led us into that 2017 bull run. So 2017, for the people that weren't around for that, I had the opportunity of being in the market really early in 2016. So at the time, Ethereum was basically just right around this point, consolidating above these prior all-time highs. You know, when we're looking at this, it was right before we saw the biggest bull run in the altcoins that we've ever seen. And a lot of people, including myself, have wondered, are we ever going to see another type of rally that's similar in pace, similar in size? And I do think that really the charts are sharing that that is probably going to be the next scenario playing out once more. Now, 2017 was super profitable. It was the biggest run that we've ever seen in the altcoins. You could have bought virtually any altcoin and made about 100x gains, and many of them pulled well over 1000x. And it was pretty much every single thing going up. I remember you could wake up, see a coin up 100%, go and FOMO buy into it, and then the next day wake up and be up like 2 or 3x. It happened all the time. It was the only bull run I've ever seen where realistically you could just FOMO buy almost anything and you were consistently making money the whole way up. So it was a really retail driven emotional cycle. And in our last cycle, we didn't see that, right? Now, we saw the same similarities in structure. Cycle top, the first lower high, same thing happened here. Even this little consolidation leading into the breakdown of capitulation, it was the same. This kind of looks like a little W, so does this. And then that leads to our capitulation. The breakout's pretty much the same all the way back up. The only difference is this and this was a higher high versus this and this being a lower low. But we still held support. It's still the same sort of a setup. I think the only reason we even saw this was because we obviously had a pandemic. A little bit more of a black swan event that is hard to predict. But regardless of that, we've followed the same structure. What I find is interesting is this took a much shorter period of time to make out this whole cycle. And it looks like we're repeating this entire pattern over again. But the only difference is we're just right here at the beginning of this move. Our last cycle was pretty small in comparison with 2017. I'm just being honest. We didn't really make a very big new all-time high. This is just, you know, not that high above it. And then all we've been doing in the bear market has been consolidating on top of that prior all-time high of 2018 and that cycle top. and we've just been holding it as support throughout that entirety. So realistically, when I'm seeing the price action of the total market cap of altcoins doing this, it tells me that yes, we're still going to end up seeing the same type of upside potential, 2017 type of bull runs and whatnot. The only difference here is the fact that it takes more time to accumulate in the price for us to get that same type of a move. And so I do believe that the next cycle coming, this cycle we're in, is going to be very similar to that 2017 uptrend as far as how impulsive it was, as far as how retail driven it was, all of the money just flowing around. Like I stated, you could just FOMO buy anything and make money because the market did this. I mean, you really could have FOMO bought anything, and you kind of needed to if you were even going to get in at that point. And to me, that's something that's going to be playing out in this next cycle. A lot of people, including myself, have wondered, why is Bitcoin at such a quicker pace to begin this cycle? What is it about this cycle that just makes us go so much higher, and the pullbacks are smaller, and there's just a lot more buy support than we've ever seen? And I really think it's just the fact that, Bitcoin's at a point in adoption where people are no longer, necessarily speculating on it. They're really just adopting it because now they realize that, hey, this thing is going to stick around. This thing is actually valuable. It does solve a purpose. And so now that the, TradeFi markets, the institutional investors are fully adopting, Bitcoin as a whole, it's only going to end up being a domino effect that trickles down to the rest of the altcoins. Right now we have a Bitcoin ETF, and we can see that what the price of Bitcoin did leading into that ETF and shortly after. So when we're looking at altcoins getting ETF approvals, Ethereum would be first, then you might have Solana, then you might have Chainlink, and who knows exactly what the order is going to go, but I do think that that's going to be a huge staple across the cycle is, which ones get the ETF approvals, and then when they do, the ecosystems attached to those, I think are going to, probably provide the biggest gain. So we talked a little bit about that in yesterday's video, why I talked about Coinbase. I think that is going to be a huge narrative to be watching for. Like when we're coming over and looking at Coinbase, we can see that this is already broken from its downtrend. We already broken and retested that. We're kind of consolidating back down to that prior high. And realistically, if we draw a long-term support, the lower high, the very first support that we ever made, over here when we first got added to exchanges, we're pretty much just sitting on top of that. So I do think that we're going to end up holding. I do think that most likely the entire market is about to be going up from here. And we're going to see a lot of upside potential taking place inside of Coinbase. We're still below those prior all-time highs, but seeing this flipping bullish, seeing the stock market being in new all-time highs, looking at Bitcoin, at a much quicker pace than anything we've ever seen up to this point, I do think that all of the signs are there that this cycle is going to be much more hyped and much more retail-driven than anything we've ever seen up to this point. And when we're looking at altcoins, showing the same similarities in structure, dating all the way back to this, 2013 to where we're at today, I think that this next cycle is going to be very powerful. And the best thing that we can do for ourselves is understanding these narratives, knowing which narratives are going to provide the most profit as the market is taking off. So for the rest of this video, I wanted to actually go over some of my favorite narratives, some that you guys definitely want to be paying attention for. And I just kind of wanted to teach you guys, how you can find some of these, because that's really where, I want to teach you guys how to make money. Big picture. I want to be able to help you guys because, I've been in crypto for 8 years. I've worked with projects firsthand. I know how all of the ins and outs of this market works. And at the end of the day, there's some really important things that are just super simple and straightforward that doesn't take anybody, sophisticated to understand. But it's just by me giving you guys a little blueprint, sharing with you guys what helps me. I know it's going to help you guys out a lot. So I want to talk a little bit about some of these narratives because I see a lot of narratives that are going to blow up in a big way. And most people probably, don't know, or they're not spending a lot of time on crypto Twitter. That's really where a lot of this value is shared that I end up seeing is mainly just from what I'm seeing on Twitter. That's where all my connections are made. That's where pretty much everything is done. My YouTube channel blew up because of Twitter. So I really think that that's the best way for somebody to realistically learn about cryptos early on, ecosystems early on. But the next best thing would be to just come up here. I like to go to CoinGecko. I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing on CoinMarketCap. But if you come down to categories, this is where you're going to be able to see all of the different type of categories of different altcoins. So you're going to see different portfolios, alleged securities, stable coins, all of these different things. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I think are going to be profitable, why I think that certain narratives are a little bit more better positioned than other ones. And to start off, I really think the first one you could really look at is just layer ones. As a whole, layer ones are going to do really well because a layer one just provides an entire platform to be able to build on. And then from there, you end up seeing entire ecosystems flourish. So, we've seen what happened with Ethereum, BNB with the Binance Smart Chain, Solana with their chain, we're seeing all of these new ecosystems in layer ones, and realistically, they've provided some of the biggest gains for me in my entire portfolio. And I do believe that that's an early sign and an indication as far as what's to come moving forward from here. So I've made, looking back in the last cycle, I bought Solana at 60 cents, I bought Phantom at 9 cents, I bought Terra Luna at 32 cents, I bought Cardano at 3.5 cents. So a lot of my biggest winners in the last cycle were just all layer ones. And so I think that, even though there's layer twos and we're starting to get a little bit past that, I don't think that we're over it because Ethereum still has scalability issues. So as long as Ethereum sucks, I think that all of these other layer ones are going to do good. But the big thing that I want you guys to take away from the layer one narrative is the Bitcoin chain, because I truly believe that this is where you guys are going to be able to see an insane amount of profit long term, considering where Bitcoin ranks in market cap is so much higher, right? We have all of these markets, like Ethereum has $66 billion worth of TVL, and then there's 8.5 in Tron, 7.5 in BSC, Solana has almost 6 billion, and if you come all the way down to rank number 10, you have Bitcoin at 1.2 billion. So to me, that's just a huge undervalued opportunity, considering Bitcoin's market cap, Bitcoin's the leader of value. It's been driving all of this adoption up to this point. And with Bitcoin about to enter new all-time highs, I think that there's going to be a lot of people that rotate Bitcoin profit and then they venture into the Bitcoin chain, right? So if we come over to DeFi Llama and we click on Bitcoin, this is going to pull up a number of different chains that are actually built on the Bitcoin network. So you guys got to keep in mind that any token built on Ethereum is called an ERC20 token. So if you wanted to use a DEX like Uniswap or SushiSwap or 1inch, anything like that, you would connect your software wallet, you would have Ethereum deposited to pay for the gas, and that's how you would transact. Everybody knows that. However, the same thing can be done on the Bitcoin chain now. There's now, an entire new ecosystem that's taking place on Bitcoin, and I think that this is something that's going to explode in a big way, considering, Bitcoin is the highest ranked market in the entire crypto space. It's the driver of value, it's the staple, it's the only one with an ETF, yet there's an entire ecosystem and it's only worth, the TVL of Bitcoin is only worth 1.2 bill. To me, that's insane. And if we look at the progression that we've seen on this chain, it's just skyrocketing in value. This is doing a bull flag before we break out even higher. This to me is going to make a new all-time high fairly soon. We can see all of this volume that's came in on this recent breakout and all of the volume that has, recently just been coming in general. So we're going to continue to see this only skyrocket from here. And as the entire Bitcoin layer one blows up, you're going to see a lot of new projects venturing over there to launch. So I think that any project either launching over there now or is adding support to that chain is going to benefit greatly. So that's something to watch out for. Now, some of the other things that we could look at here. Exchange-based tokens, those will probably do good, but I'm not really worried about the centralized exchanges. That's obsolete. The big thing I think could be very profitable would be a decentralized exchange token, because a lot of those are deflationary. A lot of those allow you to actually participate inside of the governance. Some of them allow you to participate inside of the yield on earning from the fees and the liquidity pools and whatnot. So I think that all of those are going to blow up in a big way. Now, if we come down to the rank 22, and really 21 and 22, this is where we're going to get into a narrative that I think is going to be set to prime, and that's really the artificial intelligence narrative and the layer 2 narrative as a whole. Both of these are going to do very well, and it's just because of the fact, as we're looking at the entire broader space in crypto, Ethereum still has scalability issues, and when we come over and look at Ethereum having 65 billion in TVL, it's got a huge amount of that, adoption, and with Ethereum having those scalability issues, we're only going to see that money venturing into other opportunities. The scalability issues with Ethereum, to me, you got to look at the layer 2s too. Both of these are going to be solid. We've talked a lot about Arbitrum, we've talked a lot about Optimism, and then we also have Metis down in here, the real dark horse of this cycle. But when I'm looking at all of these, the big thing you want to understand is, buying the native chain token itself can be profitable. Like Metis, it's still undervalued down in here. But some of these other ones are worth multiple billions of dollars. So the profit has kind of already been squeezed out. Now, when it comes time to talk about what's the biggest opportunity in the layer 2 narrative, it would come to actually be bridging onto those layer 2s and actually buying some of the altcoins built on them. Because you can click on any one of these altcoins and then you can search them over on DeFi Llama. For example, we could go to Arbitrum. or we could just click it right here. And this is going to pull you up all of the different tokens inside of here, so you can actually track them and see which ones have the highest TVL, which ones do the best inside of this market. And then from there, I think that that's really the best way that you can start to position yourself when talking about what ones are going to do the best. Because it's, at the end of the day, the native chain token might not do the greatest, but what we're really looking at is the actual tokens built on that chain, because those are going to see the most upside. We've talked a lot about GMX, we've talked about Camelot, some of these other tokens on this ecosystem. But to me, the big thing we just need to take away here is understanding that all of these different chains are going to do really well, whether it's a layer 1, whether it's a layer 2, it doesn't really matter. And I think that that's going to be a super profitable narrative to be watching for. Now, obviously, the next one is going to be AI. AI has been seeing some of the biggest upside this entire cycle, and we're seeing a huge amount of adoption just in the normal world around AI. And that to me is why we're going to have that legitimacy in crypto around people speculating much more on the AI prices. Now, right off the bat, we can see Fetch, Render, and BitTensor as the top threes. And these are ones that we've talked a lot about in different videos. I think that the profit in these is still there, and there's going to be a lot of upside potential. You're much better off looking for some of these undervalued ones. PAL AI is a solid one at 300 million market cap. There's still upside potential there. iExec RLC is one I've been holding since the last cycle, so I mean, I'm just going to keep holding that. I like ORI Chain. That's another one we've been holding since the last cycle. There's another, Node AI has recently blown up like crazy, but the big thing I think is really finding the ones that are undervalued, right? Looking at the bottoms of these lists, looking into which ones have the best fundamentals. That's how we're going to be able to get positioned to be better prepared than anybody else in the rest of the market. And so when I'm looking at all of these, this is really where some of the best narratives are going to be found. Layer 1s, layer 2s, AI narrative as a whole. DEX tokens are another one that I wanted to talk a little bit about, right down in here, ranked at number 28. They don't have a ton of money inside of them. When we're looking at the top ones, I'm not really trying to invest into the ones that already have $1 billion, multiple billions. Yes, a lot of these are going to still do really, really well, but the real value comes down into like the sub $600 million range and even lower than that. Aerodrome Finance is a really solid one. This is basically the lead DEX on Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the chains we talked a lot about yesterday. To me, you can't really go wrong by going over and bridging over to the Coinbase ecosystem, because they're going to have the most opportunity when it comes for retail investors to bridge them onto that chain. And I do think that that's something we need to be watching for. And, Aerodrome is actually the biggest DEX over there. So that could be a really good signal. That could be something to be watching for long term. Joe is another one, but my favorite one is actually going to be Spooky Swap. At only $17 million total market cap, I think that this thing's going to blow up because they generate way more money in fees every day than most every chain. And I think that with only more volume coming into the ecosystem as a whole, we're going to see this thing blow up in a big way. So DEX tokens to me are obvious. They're going to take off in a big way. One of our best signals that we've had up to this point was actually Apex protocol. And this was the DEX of Apex, which is really just the DEX of Bybit. So this one really blew up in a huge way. We bought this all the way back down at this circle, and then I made a few updates all the way through. Depending on where you watch the video, you actually got in at a better price than I did. But, they blew up, and I knew that that was going to happen because all of these DEX tokens, they see a lot of volume. As we've seen the washout of centralized exchanges through to FTX, due to all of these other centralized lenders and whatnot, Voyager, Three Arrows Capital, all of that stuff, we're seeing a lot of people flocking to decentralized alternatives. So DEX tokens are an obvious one, and this one has already done really, really well for me, and I think we're only going to see more upside potential in all of these. So, this is another narrative to be paying attention to. There's a number of these different DEXs down here. Those were some of my favorite ones. I think Velodrome and Aerodrome are solid, and then obviously looking at Spooky Swap back down in here. All of those are my solid picks as far as what I'm watching in the DEX narrative. So anyways, guys, this is the video I had for you. I wanted to break down some of my favorite narratives, some of the things you need to be paying attention to, some of the tokens inside of these narratives that are going to end up doing really well. Guys, big picture, there's going to be so much money and upside coming into this cycle compared to anything that we've ever seen. I think that 2017 is the only real comparison that we can draw from. And so for today's video, I wanted to share with you guys the similarities between the price structure with 2017, how it really does look like we're making another super cycle, cycle, and then looking at some of the narratives I see doing the biggest gains. So, you know, my big picture goal is to see you guys make money. From the bottom of my heart, I love each and every single one of you guys. I want to see every one of you guys make money, and I've been able to do it for myself. I've been able to help my family, friends, and things like that. And the ultimate goal I've always had on this channel is to see you guys do it. And I do believe that with this cycle being so much more profitable than anything we've ever seen, you guys are setting yourselves up in a really great way just simply having any exposure right now. A lot of you guys might feel like you don't have enough, and that's always the problem. I mean, humans are greedy. We always feel like we don't have enough. But realistically, guys, I've seen people take less than $1,000 and be able to turn it into what most people would consider life-changing money. Happens all the time in crypto, and I can't tell you guys how many more times it's going to happen this cycle. So I wanted to break things down, give you guys something to chew on, a few takeaways from my personal perspective. And with that being said, guys, if you did find any value, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. For anybody that wants to see how I'm investing, follow signals. You know, guys, there's a number of different altcoins inside of these narratives that I've already been talking about. If you guys do want to see anything I'm posting inside of my group, follow along with all of my analysis and trades that I'm going to be taking over this cycle. Links are in the description to go ahead and sign up. Thank you guys so much. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.